All right, you guys have sent in some more videos. Let's have a look at what we got. Yeah, so that's just a good example of make sure you're nice and cozy before you make a cut on a tree that's held under tension like that, because as soon as you take that weight off, you can expect that bottom chunk to want to give you a bit of a kick. So what happened there was he had his lifeline nice and tight, so he was good and cozy on his lifeline, but then as soon as that top came off, his lifeline went loose and there was a slack in the lifeline. So you really have to account for that when you're gonna pop a top off like that on a horizontal. What the hell is this guy doing? Oh my Lord. I think he's actually seriously working. That's unbelievable. I've never seen anything like that before. That is really, really bad. There's a million other things this guy could have done other than rappel down onto the branch that's already tied, that all they really have to do is lower out. And he decides to rappel out onto the branch and go take it down piece by piece. I'm shocked. I've never seen anything this dumb before in my life. All right, cool. So we got a guy up on a giant limb with no helmet. Doesn't look like he's got really any climbing gear whatsoever. There's gonna be a lot of weight on that branch, and you can tell it's already kind of peeled over on that side. So if he does not have an undercut there yet, which he doesn't, I was right about to say, if he doesn't have an undercut there or a notch or something, then that thing's gonna peel like crazy. But he's on so much wood there, and when you're looking at it from the ground, you never really have an appreciation for how big of a chunk of wood that is. So I mean, even if it peels like half off, he's still gonna be fine. I'm looking at it on a phone too, so sometimes I miss stuff because the screen's not that big, but yeah, that's a massive chunk. If you don't do any kind of a cut underneath and you're just doing an overcut, it's basically the same concept as cutting the tree. You're always gonna wanna do a face cut, and then you're gonna wanna do a back cut and then leave some hinge, essentially like the same way that a door works, right? Like it's called a hinge for a reason, because if you take the door hinges out of a door, your door's gonna go wherever it wants to go once you open the door. So those hinges serve a purpose like they do with trees. If you don't do even just like remotely an undercut, like sometimes like just to prevent that peeling, you can just reach under with the saw and just do, maybe just go in like an inch with the saw and undercut, so that when you're doing your back cut, at least by the time that branch wants to break off, it won't peel the whole way to where you are. It's gonna stop where that cut is, right? But yeah, you should always have some kind of an undercut when you're doing that, especially if your buck line is roped into wood and you don't have any kind of cut on the other side. If it peels, it's gonna wanna take you, it's gonna kind of like strangle you up against the tree, because your buck line's gonna be wrapped around that piece that wants to kind of peel off. And then you're literally gonna get just like strangled to the tree and you're gonna be stuck there. Oh boy, okay. So these guys took the time to set up all this scaffold. So I mean, like, you gotta hand it to them. Like, they took the time to set this whole scaffolding up to go up and take the top off. But the one thing I can't tell is, are they trying to lower it out via the scaffolding that they're in? And that's what it looks like they did. It looks like they've got the rope tied to the scaffolding. So what do you think is gonna happen once you lower that piece out? It's like a guy working in a boom or a cherry picker and going up and lowering out the piece via the boom or the cherry picker or the box that he's standing in. It's absolutely, completely illogical to think that that's gonna work. So, I mean, this guy's lucky, but yeah, I mean, that's too far away for me to be able to criticize or say if it was a bad notch or it wasn't, or it doesn't even look like they had ropes in the tree or anything. It looks like the guy just basically just tried to cut it. And then you can just hear him cursing like crazy at the end. So yeah, it's a do-it-yourselfer, but where was he gonna put it? I mean, the tree looks like it's 100 feet tall, and he's in like a suburban area. There's the roads right there, the street lights. There's got to be some lines around too. I have no idea where he thought he was going with that, but call the insurance company. Oh yeah. I mean, that's happened to everybody. Like, you throw a piece down and maybe not that close, like they should have been a little bit more careful there. But those pieces, when you throw them down, it doesn't take much, eh? If they hit just like a stone, or they bounce off of another log, or just like some kind of depression in the ground, or anything like to make it kind of kink over and roll, like those things can go flying 30, 40 feet if they want, especially when you're working on a slope. So I mean, ideally, those other chunks that you've have down on the ground already, you'd want to line them up against like that shed, so that if you do get a bad bounce, they just hit the wood and they don't hit the shed.
Nice.
Yeah, so usually you're not cutting living trees down for no reason, right? So the majority of the time when you're cutting a tree, the tree's likely dead, or a high-risk tree, which is all busted up and dead at the top. So you gotta worry, you always have to be super vigilant about stuff breaking off and coming back to hit you in the head. I had one like about 5 years ago, really dead tree, but we were pretty much like in the middle of the bush, and I did my face cut, I did my back cut, the tree was coming. There was no trees like this for it to hit into or nothing, so I really didn't expect anything to come back and hit me in the head because the coast was clear. But the tree was so compromised and rotten at the top that just with the momentum of the tree, just gravity going like that, the top ended up just breaking right off and coming right down, and it hit me right in the head, and it literally ninja turtled me like into my shell. It hit me like square on the head. I wasn't expecting it at all, and the next thing I knew, my head was just like inside my body. And I was probably like minorly concussed. It was an eye-opening experience that even if you don't think anything is gonna hit or catch, there could be a branch that's already broken, that's already just hanging on by the skin of its teeth, and it's ready to come down and smoke you in the head. Yeah, see, like, I don't want to knock the guy, but he's a little bit too confident. He's holding the saw with one hand here to finish the back cut. So he's like, nothing can happen, I've got her beat. But anytime you've got a wonk in the tree like that, you can't expect it to just fall flat. The butt end's gonna kick out and do something after. So once it's going, just get out of the way, take a few steps back. Already have like a predetermined safe spot that you can run to and just be in if ever the tree starts to go the wrong way or something. But get in a safe spot, it doesn't make you less cool like to take a few steps back. Oof, yeah, okay, so there's one of those ragdoll moments that we were talking about. But I mean, even if you brace yourself for something like that, there's no way you can hang on. It's just too much power. But you can tell that that thing was under a lot of tension. So I mean, you don't really have a choice but to just go up and do it. Otherwise, call in a crane. But yeah, that was violent. That's a tough dude. Cookie, come here. Come here. Here, come here. Come here. Oh, look at this little monster here. Hey, we're trying to do something. We're trying to do something. Okay, go play. So yeah, that looks like cottonwood. And it looks like there's kind of like a gnarly wound there. There was a gnarly wound in the tree just a little bit below him. Because the tree broke from the tension under where his notch was, I think. So he had his notch, which was fine, and then he was doing his back cut. But he's lucky the whole tree didn't break underneath him. It's really hard to tell what's going on like when you're seeing these videos, but that was a nasty peel. Oh man, yeah, like it peeled like pretty much half the tree.
A close one. I stopped way before.
So the climber's saying that he didn't cut enough on the back cut. So when you're worried about something maybe peeling on you like that, when you're in like some crappier wood, like these cottonwoods, like these poplars and stuff like that, they're terrible to work in. Make sure, yeah, see, so he kind of slows down on his back cut, but you want to keep going straight through like a little bit more, especially when you know that the weight of the tree is already going that way. Plus I think it's roped in too. But I mean, you can do everything textbook and something like that will still happen to you just because the wood's horrible to work with. All right, let's see this dude. Does he have a shirt on? No. Ugh. Poor dude's got his kid watching him too. He's just completely defeated. Ugh. Yeah, it just looks like, I think he cut through too much of the hinge on the right side, because when the tree comes down, you can tell there is still some hinge, but it just rolls, it just pops right off. So there's no hinge on the right side there. So a tree that size, you got to leave probably like a good, like at least 3-4 inch hinge, and then just like let it come over slowly. You can't be overzealous like that and just cut the whole way through. Ugh. I don't know why she's still revving the saw after her friend just got almost her head ripped right off. That's just bad. I mean, she's standing right next to the tree. What does she think is going to happen? Anytime you're on a slope like that, of course the butt end's gonna jump up, and she's so lucky to be alive, because that would have caught her right under the chin. That was ripping her neck right open. Oh my God, some of these are so hard to watch. Ay, ay. Yeah, that's just the power of the wind. Wow. So yeah, I'm really not a big fan of pulling with machinery like that, just because you see like how much slack happens as soon as the tree starts coming. Unless you're backing up quickly enough to keep the tension on that rope, the whole slack of that rope is no longer doing anything. So your tree now is just in la la land. So you should at the very least have either like another guy on the rope to try to pull that slack in. It's coming, boom, then the tree starts to come and the guy just stops. He needs to keep coming with that machine. That's why usually we'll always use a come along, and we'll always have an extra guy on the tail, because the come along does the work to commit the tree to coming over, but then the rope will go full slack on you. So you have to have a guy pulling in that slack. Oof. I feel like I've seen this one before. You gotta try to factor in that the two guys on the ground have to be heavier than the piece that you're sending down. Otherwise, they're gonna get shot up into the air like that. But props to that dude for hanging on. Save the fence. All right, well, thanks a lot for sending in those videos. I just want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, and be safe out there. We'll see you on the next one.